Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Wellness Wednesday here on the Lotus Lounge podcast. My name is Uma, and this is season 1, episode 7 of the Wellness Wednesday show. We've had some amazing speakers come in, and tonight I am doing a talk in honor of a Black History Month. Here on the live streaming app, we have a bunch of activities going on for Black History Month. And I was asked to do a Wellness Wednesday topic of achieving emotional intelligence. So we do have a live audience on the Plenty of Fish app and Meet Me app. Welcome in, everyone. Keith is here. He said, I'm an RN, if that matters. It do. Ooh. And the gifts. I appreciate Trey. Thank you so much. I appreciate that gift. And let me just take the sound off. Thank you. So what is emotional intelligence? We had New Vibe said it's to understand, handle, and manage emotions. Yeah, it is, right? Actually, emotional intelligence can be thought of as a set of skills that allow people to manage their own emotions and relate effectively to the emotions of others. Okay. So do you want to be high in emotional intelligence or do you want to be low in emotional intelligence? Right? You want to be high in emotional intelligence because that means that you're able to use emotional experience effectively in your own life, as well as connect with others in a healthy, positive way. Emotional intelligence describes a range of skills from your ability to calm yourself down when you're upset to your ability to read the facial expressions of others. Research has shown that these skills can be described in 5 broad areas of intelligence. So we're going to be talking about the 5 areas of intelligence that contribute to you having emotional intelligence. So why is it important? Why would, the people on the app for Black History Month ask me, Uma, please talk about emotional intelligence for Black History Month? Well, plain and simple, right? Emotions can get the best of you. And if you're not aware of your own emotions, or you're not aware of people nonverbal cues, right? If you're just paying attention to what people say and not paying attention to the nonverbal cues, you could get into a whole host of problems, right? Right. Mr. New Vibe said, having emotional intelligence helps keep healthy relationships, right? No, Keith, you don't have to be Black to have emotional intelligence. They just asked me to feature emotional intelligence for Black History Month because they felt like this is an important topic we need to talk about anybody. It doesn't matter what color you are, anybody having emotional intelligence and learning how to have emotional intelligence, empathy, empathy and understanding for others. Yeah, that's part of learning how to read people's cues. So having emotional intelligence, I think, is so important. Me as a live streamer, I see it all the time where people lose themselves on these apps, right? We have what we call the trolls. We have the internet warriors, right? The keyboard warriors. We have a lot of people with untreated inner trauma, things they haven't dealt with. And it's, it's a lot. It's a lot going on. And the thing is you have to be aware of your triggers. Okay. That's a big key part of having emotional intelligence. You have to be aware of your triggers. Like Keith said, don't mention race again or I'm out. That's a trigger for you. And you want to be aware of that and you want to handle that, because one of the things that you learn in having emotional intelligence is you can't control other people, right? You can't control other people. This is respectfully my stream. I'm talking in my stream. I'm sharing on a topic. We are doing it in honor of Black History Month. I was asked to do this topic for Black History Month. If that is a trigger for you, you want to be aware of that, because this is the problem that happens. When we lack emotional intelligence, we put onto other people our own trauma. our own trauma. So that's a great example of how we can take control of our emotions and say, hey, wait a minute, she's just doing what she was asked to do. She's presenting it on her podcast. This is how she's doing it, why she's doing it. It's nothing more than that. So whatever I'm feeling about that, let me own that. You know what I'm saying? That's how we start to have emotional intelligence. So they did the discovery of emotional intelligence and found that there's 5 broad areas that you can be scored in. You know, you can take a quiz online or go and meet with someone in a medical field, probably the psychology field, and take this test and find out where you rate with your emotional intelligence. So number 1 in the 5 areas in increasing your emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Self-awareness. Do you guys think that you have high self-awareness? Well, let me describe to you what self-awareness is. Self-awareness is measured as the ability to effectively recognize and identify one's own emotional experiences. People who score higher on this construct are more likely to be highly attuned to their emotions, exhibiting a keen sense of what they're feeling at any given moment. They're also more likely to be reflective, frequently pondering the reasons behind their emotional reactions. In contrast, those who score lower on this construct may more likely get caught up in the heat of the moment, potentially leading to impulsive or reactive social behavior. So on a scale from 1 to 10, just, just from your own self-awareness, those of you that are listening in, thank you. Where do you feel on 1 to 10 that you have, where do you feel you land with self-awareness? I'm at about an 8. I'm at about an 8. And I'll tell you why. I've been doing a lot of work with my therapist. You know, I see a therapist weekly, and I've been doing a lot of work in understanding why I impulsively act or react to things. And I've been learning a lot. So now when people say something to me that's kind of rude or disrespectful, I don't just snap and go off. I kind of take some time to think about it and say, all right, what's really going on here? You know, what's is this really my problem, or is this a problem with them? Michelle said, I'm not sure. I know I get emotional. The key is to control the reaction to the emotion. Hey, you being honest with yourself about that. I don't know where I place on the scale, Uma. That's showing some level of self-awareness, right? So right there, that's self-awareness. Hey, I'm aware that I can get emotional, and I can, I need some help learning how to control my reactions. And she said, so maybe a 4. Hey, that's awesome, because you know why? Now you have room to grow. You have room to grow and to expand, right? So if any of you are giving yourselves like a low score on a scale from 1 to 10 about your self-awareness, just remind yourself, this is wonderful, because that means I now know where I have work to do, where I have work to do. Okay. So self-awareness is one area that you can develop. If you want to have higher emotional intelligence, self-awareness is where you can work on. Keith said he's an 8 to 9. Good. Very good for you. All right. Number 2. All right. Number 2 is other awareness. Other awareness. Other awareness is measured as the ability to effectively perceive and understand the emotions of others. People who score higher on this construct are more likely to be highly attuned to nonverbal cues, such as body language and facial expressions, which can provide valuable information about others' emotional states. They're also more likely to be skilled at interpreting these cues and making accurate inferences about the emotions that others are experiencing, even when those emotions are not expressed. In contrast, those who score lower on this construct may struggle to accurately interpret nonverbal cues, potentially leading to misunderstandings or missed opportunities for social connection. I got to be honest, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm at a 9 here. But can I tell you, in my younger years, I really was like at a 3 or a 4, because I just was clueless, I was just clueless. Like I would always be that person that said the wrong thing at the wrong moment in time, or I would just get it wrong or mess it up. And you know how I knew something was wrong? it was, you know, like I would say something and everybody would just like, you know, or get quiet, or it would become very awkward. And I'm like, okay, I think I said something wrong. I literally was like Sheldon. You know, did you guys watch Big Bang Theory when it used to show? I really feel like I used to be like Sheldon. I just used to say the most inappropriate things and it would just shock everybody. And I didn't know what was going on. Why was everybody upset? And I had to learn to develop how to read the nonverbal cues, you know? So if you want to develop your emotional intelligence, you can start learning to pay attention, not so much to what somebody's saying, but the way they're acting. You know what I'm saying? So where do you guys rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 with other awareness? Keith said he's at a 7. Um, let's see. I'd say a 7, Michelle said. I think the scale changes on these depending on what mood I'm in. Oh, whoa, I just thought about that. All goes back to control of yourself. There you go. You're getting the hang of this, Michelle. Wonderful. Mr. New Vibe said 5. Okay. That's really cool that, you know, you're honest and you're like transparent and you say, hey, I could do some work with paying attention to nonverbal cues. I'm very good at it now because it's like I used to be so embarrassed when I would say something, you know, like, have you ever done that, guys, where you said something really you thought was fine, but everybody else around you was like, oh, how could you say that? And you're just feeling like ashamed and embarrassed and humiliated. Let me tell you, that lives with you. And that is the greatest teacher because I learned very quickly how to read the energy of a person. Yeah, this person could take a little bit of ribbing. It's not going to be a bad idea. Oh, this person, they are completely in la la land, and you better not be truthful with them, Uma, because they are not going to get it and they're going to blame you. So out of touch with reality. So I started learning how to help, you know, with my communication with people. Keith said it helps if you work around people all the time versus sitting in a cubicle. Yeah, that is true because in all my career, I've always worked with people. You know, being the CEO of a metaphysical wellness center, I've had to do shows, expos, you know, talk to a group of like 100 people or more. So yes, you know, while you're doing those speeches or whatever, you can sense in the room if the people are interested and following you and listening to you, or they're kind of yawning and just like, okay, I'm not really wanting to be here. You know what I'm saying? So having other awareness is also another key point of emotional intelligence. All right, number 3, emotional control. Of course, we have to include emotional control. Thank you, Candy. Emotional control is measured as the ability to regulate and manage one's own emotions. People who score higher on this construct are more likely to have a strong sense of control over their emotional experiences and can direct their emotions in a way that serves their goals and well-being. They are also more likely to be resilient and able to quickly recover from negative emotions or bad moods without getting derailed from their daily lives. In contrast, those who score lower on this construct may struggle with regulating their emotions, becoming overwhelmed by their emotions, or find it challenging to get back on track after experiencing negative emotions. Those with lower emotional control may also find it difficult to cheer themselves up or regulate their emotions in a positive way. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you with your emotional control? Keith said he's at a 9. I feel like I'm at a 9 too, because, you know, if you don't have good emotional control, let's say you wake up in the morning and something goes wrong in the morning, it can derail your whole day. You're like, that's it. This day is shot. And you can't pick yourself back up. You don't know how to pick yourself back up. Or as we see in codependent relationships, right? There's people who depend on other people to pick themselves back up. That's why there's so much power struggle in relationships. You know, if you have somebody who's codependent, they can't make themselves happy. You have to make them happy. You're responsible for their happiness. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody. So when you're dating, especially, you want to look for someone with good emotional control. Mr. New Vibe said he's at an 8. Keith said I can go from a 2 to a 9 pretty quick though. Yeah, you know. Michelle said, yikes. You don't know where you don't know, you don't want to tell us where you are with your emotional control. But listen, I am the poster girl for just toxic, past toxic female, right? If I did it, if I became healthy and healed, you can do it too, but it does take work. And the biggest thing I have to tell you is therapy really does help. So if you lack emotional control, if you are a codependent person in a relationship, you need somebody to be happy. You need somebody to make you happy. You need somebody to pick you back up if you've had a bad day. You know what I'm going to tell y'all? Get therapy, right? Get therapy. Talk to a therapist, a trained, professional in these psychology arts, and get to understand why you are the way you are. You know what I mean? It's been very helpful for me. And I have gained so much emotional control. Anybody is this person or used to be this person. If you're fighting with your boyfriend or your girlfriend and they say something bad to you, or not even bad, they just say something that you don't want to hear, and you start texting back like 10, 20 texts, all nasty stuff, right? I was that person, and it was not a good place to be, because the person that you love gets overwhelmed and they're like, what's going on? And then you're calling them back to back and you're angry and you don't even understand how you're feeling and you're taking out on this person. Yeah, I used to be that girl, but therapy helps, right? And now it's like when something upsetting happens, the first thing I do is I breathe. I breathe. I'm angry. I start talking to myself. I'm angry. I don't know why I'm angry, but it's his fault. I don't know why it's his fault, but he's just the problem. I don't know why he's the problem, but it's just him. Okay, that's not correct. What is the problem here? I'm upset at myself. Oh, no, I don't want to face that. Yes, I'm upset at myself because if I had done what I was supposed to do, I wouldn't be in this situation. It's easier to blame him. I don't want to blame him. I want to accept responsibility for the fact that it's my fault. I made a mistake and now I got to fix it. That is an example of having emotional control, right? I've been single way too long. I've been single almost a decade. I'm just ready. That includes no relations of any kind. Yeah, I love being in a relationship because you get the most growth from being in a relationship. When you're by yourself, you don't have anybody poking at you. You don't have anybody, you know what I'm saying? Pointing out your bad behavior. So sometimes being single can be toxic, right? Sometimes being single can be toxic because if you're having bad behavior, right? And you don't have anybody fixing that or pointing that out, like, hey, you really shouldn't do that. Or, hey, that's not a great way to be. If you don't have people doing that, then you're just going to go on being that person, and then you just develop like this hard exterior. Yeah, you go crow like ice, Seems impossible to find people who are reasonable like you. Well, you know what it is, Keith? A lot of people are lacking emotional intelligence. And that's why I wanted to do this talk tonight on emotional intelligence, because especially for those of us that are on the live streams, this is a dating app. Most of you here are single and you would like to meet someone eventually. And these are things, the way that you attract somebody with emotional maturity is you have to be emotionally mature. That's a law of attraction thing, right? We can only attract to us what we are. Plain and simple. If you are an emotionally mature person, you can attract somebody who's not emotionally mature, but you won't last with them because you're an emotionally mature person. Janet, hi, love. We're doing Black History Month, Achieving Emotional Intelligence. This is my talk on emotional intelligence. Welcome in. Thank you. Ooh, that is nice. Wow. Thank you. Appreciate that. I've got zero tolerance for a few things now. I'll drop you where I found you. But Phoenix Rising, I used to be the runaway bride, I used to be the queen of the walkaway. But I'm learning now, I'm in my 40s, right? 46. And I'm learning it is better to stay. Now, I'm not advocating for anybody to stay in a physically abusive relationship or in a relationship where you're emotionally abused. I'm not advocating for that, right? But I am saying that, you know, if somebody you're in a relationship with and they're kind of, you know, making you upset or whatever, sometimes it's okay to say, you know what? I'm not really feeling you right now. Let's just take a break for today. Let's not call each other tonight. We'll talk tomorrow, you know, and you kind of work it out. The one thing I got to say is in this relationship that I'm in, I've been with this person for 3 years and I've learned so much about myself because he's somebody that will not give up on me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm someone that will not give up on him. So we've had the most growth in this relationship by just us not giving up on each other and just remembering that we're good people, but it takes communication and comprehension to make a relationship work. So for those of you that are single, I recommend that you do open your heart and put yourself out there, because you know, being in a relationship is a key way to achieve emotional intelligence, you know? My friend who was a lady, just a friend, but she got physical with me just once. I was gone the next day. Yeah, you know, of course, anytime somebody put hands on you or, you know, emotionally abuses you, that's not a healthy relationship. And that's something that you should not involve yourself in, for sure. All right, so that's number 3. We talked about, welcome in everybody who's now joining us. We're talking about how to achieve emotional intelligence. And the first one was having self-awareness about yourself, your feelings, your emotions. The second one is other awareness, having awareness of other people, their emotions, their, you know, their body language, things like that. The third thing in having emotional intelligence is emotional control, learning how to regulate and manage your own emotions. Now, number 4, we're talking about keys to achieving emotional intelligence. All right. Number 4 is empathy. Do you feel you're empathic? Do you feel you're empathic? Empathy is measured as the ability to understand and relate to the emotional experiences of others. People who score higher on this construct are likely to be highly attuned to the emotions of others. They specifically tend to be affected by others' suffering and motivated to help alleviate it. They're also more likely to care deeply for the well-being of others and may frequently engage in pro-social behaviors such as donating to charity or volunteering their time to help others out. In contrast, those who score lower on this construct may have more difficulty understanding and sharing the emotions of others and may be less inclined to engage in pro-social behavior. Those with lower empathy may also be more likely to automatically attribute others' suffering to their own bad choices or circumstances rather than recognizing the role of systemic injustice or societal factors. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, thank you for the fave. Thank you guys. Welcome in. If you like the content, please feel free to gift me. I appreciate the gifts. I appreciate you guys helping me hit the goals. So listen, we had an example of this today. I was streaming on TikTok and a young female, 18 years old, came in for a psychic reading about her boyfriend. The psychic reading pretty much said this was not a good person for her and he was unhealthy. So usually after I give a reading, I like to ask people like, well, what happened, right? Like, what, why are the cards saying, you know, all of this? So she's talked about her story. She said that she was 18 and had an 8-month-old baby for the boyfriend. And while she was pregnant, he cheated on her. And I felt so sorry for this girl because she's so young and she's, you know, 18 with an 8-month-old baby and, you know, was hoping for this happily ever after, right? And then this guy cheated on her and now they're living together and she feels like he's cheating again. And it's just like, it's a messy situation. There was a guy in the stream that was judging her, you know, exactly like this. No empathy for her. Well, you know, she should know who she's sleeping with and all of this stuff. And I'm like, That's not really fair, is it? That's not fair. Keats said, only because I may not have gone through whatever you've gone through, but always willing to listen. Exactly. When you have empathy, you learn to listen to people's stories and hold space. Do you guys know what holding space is? Holding space is where you listen to what somebody is going through and you don't have a judgment about what they're going through. You don't. You listen and you try to understand it from their point of view. Most of this planet is desensitized and apathetic. I tend to agree with that. I think also too a lack of self-awareness, going back to the first point of having emotional intelligence. It's my goal, it's my desire to help people realize that you know, having emotional intelligence is key to having a successful life and successful relationships. But I can talk till I'm blue in the face. If people don't feel like this is a priority or this is important, they're not going to honor it, right? They're not going to honor it. So for people like me and those of you that believe in what I'm talking about, we just need to keep preaching it. And the best way to preach something is to be that thing. I have spent a lifetime developing my emotional intelligence, learning how to have empathy, learning how to have control of my emotions, learning how to have self-awareness, practice what you preach. I hope I'm a good vessel of practice. So when I'm preaching, you guys are like, oh, okay, I understand what Uma is saying. I've seen people come at Uma and her take hit after hit after hit, and she refuses to lose her cool. She refuses to lose her cool. So I hope that I become a beacon of an example, right? By being that way. But I wasn't always that way, honestly. And some of you listening in on this podcast who have known me from the past 10, 20 years ago, you'll be like, that was definitely not Uma then. But thank God for growth and maturity and learning how to accept responsibility and accountability. Big key factors, right? Big key factors. All right. So empathy was number 4, another step to developing emotional intelligence. Michelle said, I'd say I'm a 7 or 8 on that because I want someone to be the nice to me, realizing that more and more as I'm getting older. Yeah. And here's another thing. Well, I'll talk about it in the last point. We'll talk about it in the last point. The last point is well-being. Number 5, well-being. Well-being is measured as an individual's overall state of psychological, emotional, and social prosperity. People who score higher on this construct are likely to have positive attitudes towards life and experience a sense of fulfillment, happiness, and satisfaction in their day-to-day activities. They may enjoy socializing and have strong social skills and likely find it easier to connect with others and build positive relationships. They are also more likely to have an optimistic view of life, finding joy in everyday experiences and maintaining a positive outlook, even in the face of challenges. By contrast, those with lower well-being may find it more difficult to connect with others or find joy in social situations and may sometimes struggle with confidence or optimism. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where do you feel you are with your well-being? I'm definitely at like an 8 or a 9 because like I said, we just spent like an hour talking about the POF Meet Me Split here on streams. And I was being very honest with my emotions about it because I don't need to bash either stream. I work for both streams, but I can sit here and be honest and say, I'm struggling a little bit. And it's a little scary because I don't know what the future holds for me as a streamer, but I'm going to give it my best shot and I'm going to try to do the best that I can. And that's all I can do, right? Is I can just do my best, you know? 5, kind of contradicting me too. Okay. So well-being also, I want to add a point here to well-being. Well-being is knowing who to surround yourself with. Okay. Hi guys, welcome in. Well-being is knowing who to surround yourselves with, because if you constantly surround yourself with people who are just full of drama and trauma, what do you think that's going to do to your mental health? What do you think that's going to do to your well-being? Is it going to increase it or decrease it? Right? Increase or decrease? What do you guys think? Michelle said, I'm a 5 because personally I have struggles, but I will try to help when others need it. You know, I really appreciate your honesty, because your honesty is going to help you to grow, you know? Keith said, I'm tired of being alone because it's hard to find people like me. You know, I don't know where you live, Keith, or how old you are, anything, but there's a couple of really great ladies that come in this stream. I'm telling you right off my bat. Like, I'm thinking Michelle, I'm thinking Candy, you know. There's a couple of great females in here that are single, humble, kind, sweet. You know what the problem is with relationships? I'll tell you something right now that's going to be very true. A lot of you can be in a relationship, but you don't like who likes you. I've seen it happen so many times. I've seen women turn down really great guys because they're the good guy. I've seen men turn down really great women because they're average looking. You know, you gotta be open to exploring every person. And we got to stop putting so much focus on the external and look more at the internal. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a big change when you start doing that. But back to this topic of well-being. Well-being is not just about having this overall state of happiness and joy and fulfillment. It's also about the choices you make. Me, for one, if I see crazy, I cross the street. You know, I cross the street. We had a situation here on streams. Michelle, you're gonna know who I'm talking about. Me and a friend of mine had another friend that we were all mutual friends, and the one friend, she just wild out on me, you know. She tried to body shame me, and she was just really toxic towards me because she got caught, you know, like she was saying she's this kind of person, and then from her own actions we came to realize that she wasn't. So when she got caught, she wilded out on me on streams in front of everybody. So I was done, right? I was done. You know why I was done? Because I don't need to be around that energy. I see you for who you are. I'm not going to drag your name. That's why I'm not mentioning her by name. You know, I'm just going to walk away and leave it alone. My other friend, on the other hand, was very, very close with her. And it was a struggle for her to leave the person, which I understood. So I never asked her to leave the person. But that person like blocked her from her stream, even though she was like her number one gifter and everything, blocked her from the stream. So that's when she left the person. But then the person came back to her and, you know, did this like fake apology and whatever. So my friend told me, she's like, yeah, Uma, I'm going to rock with her. And I said, just be careful. Just be careful. Well, come to find out, you know, not even a week later, something else happened where my friend had to actually end up blocking her, you know, and just staying away from her. But what does that tell you? When you see crazy, cross the street, right? Cross the street. Because if you stay there, you expecting somebody to change when they show you who they are. What did Maya Angelou say? When somebody shows you who they are the first time, believe them. Believe them. They're not going to change, right? But it's the good in us. It's the good in us. Well, maybe they'll change, or I don't really want to believe, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, you got to believe what you see. People are showing you who they are. Believe them. So it caused a lot more pain from my friend because she had to now go through this kind of like second breakup with this person. Whereas I moved on, right? The first time I saw the signs of crazy, I was out of there, right? Hi guys. And that's that. So those are the 5 steps of developing emotional intelligence. Now, if anybody wants to take a quiz, all right, because I did get this from a website. The website is truity.com, TRUITY.com. If you go to truity.com, all right, there is a quiz there for emotional intelligence. I scored, of course, very high on here. I got the intuitive. I'm the intuitive on here. And it says, I notice nonverbal cues and intuitively read the room to determine how others are feeling. Yeah, you better be, exactly. Especially being a psychic and all, right? I better be. So my emotional intelligence superpower is I notice how others are feeling. I think honestly, that's what makes me a great social media personality and a great streamer, is that I have the ability to pay attention to people and see where they're at. And I don't get easily triggered. So when people are like coming at me or trying to shame me or fat shame me or body shame me or intelligent shame me or whatever, I'm just sitting there and really trying to I'm just really trying to understand them from their point of view and say, well, what's going on with them? Why they got to attack me like this? I don't take it personally because I don't know why people act the way they act. And I try my best to try to understand why they act the way they act. I think if the world did that more often, we would have a more peaceful place. I do. Thank you. I love that gift so much. Thank you. Um, I think the world would be a better place. I really do. If we stopped getting triggered so much and somebody said something to you or did something to you, and now you got to do something back. If we cut all of that out, right? The world would be such a better place. Could you imagine somebody comes to you and say, hey, Keith, I think you suck. And instead of Keith, rawr, right? He'll be like, well, that was random. What's going on with you? Why are you hating on me? First of all, you don't even know me, you know? Right. No, instead of answering that way, I won't repeat what Keith said. Okay. But yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. I think we need to have more conversations, and I think we need to hold space more because people are going through stuff and we don't know why they're going through what they're going through. We don't know why they're mean. We don't know why trolls exist. But just let me just say it this way. Not everybody has the happiness, the peace, the contentment, the joy that you have. That's all. Yes, Michelle said, hurt people, hurt people. That is such a true statement. Hurt people, hurt people, you know? All right. I don't even know who this is trying to verse me. I'm gonna hit it though in a second. So any questions about developing emotional intelligence? I hope this talk tonight for my Wellness Wednesday show was fruitful. I do hope you go and take the quiz, the emotional intelligence quiz on truity.com, and see where you stand, because it gives you different scores. Like I could tell you, I am in the 95 percentile for self-awareness, which means that I have more self-awareness than 95% of the population. Other awareness, I have more other awareness than 97% of the population. You see how that works? Emotional control, I have 61. But remember, I told you guys, I've been working on the emotional control. Empathy, I have 78. Well-being, I have 89. So my self-awareness and other awareness, very high. But now the actual behaviors is what I'm working on with my therapist. And that's why I say, take this quiz. It's very helpful, and it'll let you know what areas you have to work on in developing your emotional intelligence. We are always a work in progress. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I would never come on here. As much as I'm a teacher and a life coach and a motivational speaker, I'll never come on here and say, I have it 100% right all of the time. I got it maybe 60% right. You know, I got it maybe 60% right. And I'm willing to share with those of you that want to learn and want to grow from my 60% knowledge. And I hope that it could change at least 10% of your life, you know, 10% of your life. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for Wellness Wednesday. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you're watching this on a recording or live, please drop me your comments and let me know what you thought about the show. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.